One of the saddest stories in St. John is the one of Margaret Vail and her darling daughter Ella May, who had their lives cut short tragically in 1868 by the very man Margaret trusted and loved. Margaret met the up-and-coming architect John A. Munro in 1865 when she was living in Lancaster with her father, who was ill at the time. John, who had a wife and 2 children, began an affair with 21-year-old Margaret, who had been warned by her family that he was married. The relationship progressed for the next couple of years, with John putting Margaret up in an apartment to make it easier to be with her, without the prying eyes of others. In 1867, when Margaret became pregnant with John's baby, the relationship began to deteriorate, as Margaret wanted to keep the baby and John was very against the pregnancy. He was becoming more and more prominent in the city, and he knew if this got out that it would ruin his reputation. After the news of her pregnancy, John distanced himself from Margaret, seeing her less and less. On one occasion, he had even asked if she would be willing to poison his wife, so he was clearly looking for solutions to his growing problem. Ella May Munro, as she was officially registered, was born on February 4th, 1868. She had an umbilical hernia, and so Margaret's sister made the baby a trust to wear. Her sister also told John he was going to support Margaret and Ella May. John did send some money occasionally, but it was never enough. He had also written some letters to Margaret asking to leave him alone. One day, John asked Margaret out to a picnic. He hired a driver to take him, Margaret, and the baby out to the Loch Lomond parish to visit some friends. He asked that the driver let them out along the Black River Road, where they would then walk the rest of the way. This day, John found the area that the deed would take place. However, according to his confession, he did not have the intention to harm Miss Vail or the baby on this first trip. It was during a trip to Fredericton with his wife that he then came up with his awful plan. Margaret's father had recently passed away and left an inheritance of the ownership of the house to her, and she had confided in John and asked what she should do with the house. He told her to sell it, and that she did, receiving $500 in return. The inheritance became another thing that would seal her and the baby's fate. On the afternoon of October 31st, John once again invited Margaret on a picnic with some target practice, as he had been teaching her to shoot and had even purchased her a firearm matching his own. Again, he asked the driver to let them out on the Black River Road, where they would walk to the family's home they were to visit. Hours later, John entered the pub where he was to meet the driver, alone and looking disheveled and nervous, and told the driver that Miss Vail and the baby had traveled to meet the man that she was to marry in Boston. Almost a year later, in September of 1869, some African-Canadian blueberry pickers stumbled upon human remains by a large rock. They were skeletal remains, and the blueberry pickers were concerned to turn over this information. A few days later, the information made its way to the authorities, and the investigation began. Going by the clothing found near the scene and the trust that Margaret's sister had made for Ella May, it did not take long for them to identify who the remains belonged to. Their investigation then led them to the local architect, John A. Munro. The trial took place, and it did not take long to convict Munro, as many witnesses had seen him with Vail, and many knew that the baby was in fact his. On December 17, 1869, the jury deliberated for only 1 hour and found John A. Munro guilty of the 2 murders. He was sentenced to be executed on February 15th the following year, 1870. The day before Munro's execution, he penned a confession. The first time I went out with Miss Vail, it was only for a ride. We had no quarrel, and our going was at her wish. We got out of the coach at or near the place described on the trial. She had a satchel, and we walked along the road, I cannot say how far, sat down and had a bite to eat. We both fired at a mark, she using a pistol I had given her, one of a pair, a breech loader, same as my own. The mate I gave to a friend. I had learned her to use it. There was no intention on my part to harm her at that time. We came back and I left her at Lakes. She was to have gone to Boston on the Thursday after our first going out, but it was too stormy, and I went with my wife to Fredericton on that day, and came down again on Friday night. It was during that trip to Fredericton I first thought that the spot I visited with Miss Vail on the Monday previous was a suitable spot to commit a bad act. I went out again with Miss Vail the Saturday following. We went to the same road as before, and to about the same place. The morning was frosty, the moss crisp and hard. There was no wet on the barren. The road was a little muddy. We went off the road a little way together and sat down. I went into the bushes. The child cried. I came out again, was angry, and strangled the child. I do not know if it was actually dead. As she was rising up, I shot Miss Vail in the head. I do not think on the same side as shown in the court. I threw a bush over her face and some over her hands. I found the pistol in her pocket, or just fallen out of it, a common handkerchief and a wallet with only a few dollars in it. I threw the handkerchief and wallet away and left at once and have never been back. I had previously had some of her money, cannot say how much, perhaps half or a little more. I cannot say that money was not one of the reasons of the motives for the act committed. I do not say it was in self-defense I killed Miss Vail. It was the money, my anger with her at the time, and my bad thoughts on and after the trip to Fredericton working together caused me to do the bad act. The letter written to Mrs. Creer, Maggie's sister, was written by me and mailed in Boston by a friend of mine living in or near Boston. I never killed any other person or child. John A. Monroe was executed by hanging on February 15, 1870. Witnesses to the hanging said that he suffered greatly as his neck did not break upon the fall, which happens in most hangings. He instead died by suffocation after 20 minutes. Margaret Vail's heartbroken spirit is said to wander the Black River Road, perhaps looking for her sweet LMA, as she is never seen holding the baby. On a cold, dark, and rainy Halloween night in 2013, Loyalist City Paranormal, accompanied by historian Harold Wright and folklorist David Goss, made our way to the very rock that Margaret and Ella Mae's remains were found. David and Harold know the exact area from research and were able to guide us to the rock. And here is our investigation.
Okay, behind you there's a large rock, and that is the murder scene described in the court evidence and on the drawing, that they were murdered at this rock, and the bones were found strewn around the rock. Now I can't remember from the drawing, but the drawing actually shows on what side of the rock where the bones were found. I think the baby's bones were found on the far side of the rock, and Margaret's were found on this side.
So he didn't really make any effort to cover them up in any way?
There's no indication, but then they were here for a year, and in the court evidence it does state from the medical examiners that the bodies had been disturbed by animals.
Oh, okay.
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he ever like confess?
He did confess the pre-evening or the morning of his execution.
Okay.
The newspaper did. They all reported the confession. I haven't seen the original written document. It's not in the trial file. But they all reported it, and there was never any dispute from anybody saying that, no, he didn't write this, he didn't confess.
Right.
The family didn't dispute it or anything like that, so.
And they obviously weren't very proud of his doings if they never marked him on the gravestone or whatever on the site.
Well, that would be one thing. It was common, it was also common to bury executed prisoners at the site of execution.
Right.
So up at the courthouse, behind the courthouse where the old jail is, there's at least 2 or 3 references I have to the prisoners being buried there, within the courtyard. And then there were others who were turned over to the family for burial, private burial.
Okay.
So yeah, I could see where the family wouldn't want to put his name.
Right.
But when they say that he lays in an unmarked grave. That's not quite correct, because the
No,
grave
yeah,
is
'cause it
marked.
is marked,
Just
yeah.
that his name's not on the mark. Sure.
Right.
He was released to his family, and wasn't it N.N. Powers that
Yeah, Mark, I believe it was Mark Powers was the Undertaker.
was the Undertaker? But they did it covertly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the type of thing where you have a great big funeral and a wake.
Yeah.
It's let's take him out, because it's certainly a mark of shame.
You can turn this off so I don't give you a false reading.
Do you have enough AA batteries? Because I have, half a dozen to a dozen. I'll leave if you want them. Now the path does go down here further, but I wouldn't suggest you go much further because it becomes quite overgrown, and it is a horseshoe shape. So if you don't get lost, eventually you would get back out on the same road.
Okay.
However, Dave was a very good Boy Scout, and we did get lost.
I wouldn't go in there at night at all. There's no reason to. I
Nope.
mean, whatever you're gonna pick up is gonna be right here.
Right.
And, you might try one side of the rock and the other. As Harold says, there's no really,
Happened one other time. A couple years
firm
ago.
evidence that, there was, and the bodies may have been dragged around too. They may have been in different places, but he does talk about, sitting on a rock. And this would have been open, more open. I mean, no, this would have been a blueberry barrel. And,
So the marsh that we walked on, that would have been basically this whole area, without the trees.
and he brought her in to learn to shoot, and you don't shoot in the woods, you shoot in an open area.
I do want to say really quickly, some stuff to look out for if you're taking pictures. We can obviously see our breath tonight, it's cold, so if you see a mist, we're pretty much going to have to say,
And it's
we're
raining.
going to have to count it out, right?
Right.
And it's raining, so you're going to see lots of orbs, and they might be crazy looking, but chances are it's rain and reflection off of whatever. It's going to be hard to hear noises, I think, where it's raining and we're outdoors, but we'll just try our best. I also want to say that we mean the most respect to you, Maggie Vail, and your daughter, and that we just want to hear from you, and we would also ask that you please do not follow any of us home afterwards, and let us know that you're here. It seems every time I'm talking about LMA that I get a little spike in my meter. Margaret, did John ever hold LMA?
I'm getting a yes.
You didn't mean that.
But he could have held her while he strangled her.
Yeah, that's true. Margaret, did John deceive you? Yes.
It was crossed long before.
I even said it?
Yeah. They're just going on their own.
Did you try to stop John from hurting LMA?
I think it happened pretty quick.
Where's the power button for this thing? I just shut off myself.
Margaret, can you come and stand next to me
Thanks.
and try to make my meter light up? Was it just one gunshot to Margaret?
I believe so.
Margaret, did you think that John loved you?
According to this, yes.
Yeah. Is that an animal growling?
You just heard it?
Let's get some flashlights over that way.
Which way?
Was that a bike? Please be a bike.
Way down there.
Bike.
Different bike.
I'm not scared of the dead, I'm scared of the...
Living.
Yeah.
Yes.
The squirrels out here are very small.
I like how you guys don't assume it's something
Yeah.
you eliminate.
Yeah.
Both times that you asked that Margaret would come and stand by somebody, I felt more rain hit me at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Now, then, when you didn't ask the question, it's just a drip now and then.
Yeah.
But when you asked that question, it just poured now.
Yeah, I did notice
Hmm.
You notice that?
Like she's bumping a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's, I don't know.
Good catch. It did feel like something hit this tree, but I don't know if it's just blowing up at the top. That's why I'm leaning against it to see if something.
Yeah, see if it happens again.
Yeah.
Margaret, did you have trouble with your man-baby?
Yes, I didn't hear what you said, but these things said yes. What was your question?
Did she have trouble with her landlady?
Oh, okay.
Yes, she did.
Does Ella May ever make a noise out here? Are you able to make a noise? Use your voice?
Yep. You're right.
What?
You asked a question and then we all get hit by rain.
Did you get an answer for that one, Chloe?
Yes.
Margaret, was John your only lover?
No. I didn't know.
But that's a pretty broad question.
Yeah, I suppose, because it could have been at any time. Was John the father of LMA, Margaret?
Yeah.
Yes. How about, did you have any lovers at the same time as John? No.
Did you fight with your sisters?
Did you meet John at Duck's Cove, Margaret?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes, but it's a slow yes. Where's that cove significant?
Was, did you think it was yes, but a slow yes?
Okay, she didn't meet him at that point.
Okay. Did
After John was an engineer.
if he was an engineer? Was John an engineer, Maggie or Margaret?
Yes.
Give me a yes on that. Would she have thought he was? No.
Says yes. Spells yes again. What was he?
An
Architect.
architect.
Could be some confusion. And then net at Bayshore Beach, McCarthy Ground is not that close. They're close. They're not the same.
Not quite.
No. Did you live on Prince Street?
No. Did she?
Well, off of Prince.
Off of him?
Well, it should have been considered Prince Street. The streets weren't as well defined then as they are now.
Right.
After John was a married man.
Was John a married man, Margaret?
Saying yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any children, Margaret?
Yep.
Margaret, can you tell us how many children? Give us a sign.
My sense is that 2, but I could be crazy.
Get on.
Good job, Kelly.
Well,
After she
Nice.
went to Boston.
Margaret, did you ever go to Boston? What did you know? Did she?
I think she did.
She did. So we're getting like 50-50
Yeah.
right answers.
Yeah. And they're swinging on their own.
Can you come over and try to touch one of us? Oh, look at my meter. I just got a spike on my meter again.
I saw that.
just got a shovel and remove it.
But do you guys know where she was shot? Was it on the left side of the head?
Trying to hide the camera.
On the head, on the left side of the head? By her temple?
Yes.
By her temple?
Yep.
And you would drive it down there.
Yeah, the sharp pain too, yep.
Right on the left side, right there.
How waterproof is it from?
0 probably. It's gonna take a hair dryer to it when I get home.
Margaret, will you make my meter go up? Can you try to do that again, please? Thank you very much, by the way.
That's when I felt the pain, right when that,
When the meter started? Margaret, did you sit on that rock when you came out here with John that day? Was that you coming towards my meter, Margaret? Can you try to do that again? I don't have anything on. I turned off my cell phone, so it wouldn't be anything on me.
he's gonna hear the copper, so, yeah.
What's that for?
I just thought maybe me using those near it, but no, you know.
I don't love that at all. I'm sure it's not Harold. Keep getting these little mini spikes that are just kind of whoosh. Margaret, we're not here to harm you in any way. We just want to talk to you. We just want to know that you're here. Are we bothering you? Do you want us to leave? keeps doing it when I'm like looking away, so I can see it out of the corner of my eye, and then when I look back, it's not flashing anymore. There we go. Does that mean that you want us to leave? Margaret, you can speak through this. Can you try to say your name for us? Margaret, why did you come out here with John? Margaret, do you have anything that you want to say? Can you try to say something for us? Not really picking up anything there.
Yeah.